to you. We have just crossed the Carolina line, and it is just after 6 in the morning. It is a beautiful, moonless, starry morning sky. I mean, the sky is absolutely full of stars. Orion is finally shining bright in the fall sky. And we are embarking on a 8-year tradition today, an 8-year traditional journey to Watauga County. This is just something I do every fall, typically between the middle to end of October. Starting back 8 years ago, just one fall night, I was in college at Radford, and I was pretty much fed up with everything. I was kind of assuming it was going to be my last semester up there, and I just got up at 3 in the morning, headed out, and just decided to drive, and finally ended up in the Boone and Blowing Rock area in Watauga County, North Carolina. And I had only been to that area once before. Now, the time that I'd been earlier, I've mentioned before on my channel. We actually went on vacation once to Blowing Rock when I was younger, and as I'm looking back on that now, I assume we just really had no money that year. But when I was younger, that still felt like a good ways away for me. And I didn't, I thought we were so far deep into the mountains. Then as I got a little older, I realized it's just a couple hours away. So when I first embarked on that journey 8 years ago, it just happened to be the peak week for the fall leaves changing colors, and it's just a nice little area, very beautiful little towns that I like to get away to every fall. And I make a point to always leave fairly early in the morning, because as I've said in other videos, there's just something about seeing the sunrise over someplace new. Now, we're really going nowhere new today. I've been to all these places before, but still, when you see the sunrise over the Yadkin Valley or over the mountains as you're climbing up Deep Gap, it's just still something so poetic about that. Because as you left home, it was dark. You're not really able to see much of anything. And then once the sun finally does shine, everything's new around you. So stick around and enjoy this beautiful ride on this cool fall day to Watauga County, North Carolina. And we have just left McDonald's, had to stop for a little bit of breakfast. Been since about noon yesterday that I've ate anything. And we're just going to get back on the road. We're going to hit I-77 here in just a few minutes and pretty much be non-stop all the way into Watauga County. Alright, so we have just crossed over into Watauga County. Now, this stretch might look a little familiar to you if you saw my video of the NC Highlands, the North Carolina Highlands, and into Tennessee from a month or two ago. We're climbing up Deep Gap Mountain right now. As you can see me, the Yadkin Valley in Piedmont is toward the back here. And we're just about 15-20 minutes outside of Boone. Now nothing's usually open yet this early in Boone, so typically we ride on up 421 a little ways longer just to kind of enjoy the views and see what the leaves are looking like this time of year. Not far past Boone, North Carolina now. We just have rolled through town about 10-15 minutes ago. And we're still on US Highway 421 heading toward the Tennessee line. That little gas station back there I actually stopped at near 8 years ago when I took my trip. And just one of the coldest little stores. It's pretty much completely in the shade, especially this time of day. You're way up on this mountaintop, and it's right at 32 degrees right now. They probably had a pretty cool night through here last night. I'd say everything's pretty icy ground, and a lot of the house was covered in frost. And didn't quite get down to freezing back home last night. I think we were kind of in the upper mid-30s, somewhere in there. And so we didn't quite have a frost, but looks like they had a pretty cold one here last night, and it's still a little chilly out. I mean, like I said, it's right at freezing outside, and cold really doesn't bother me that much. I actually prefer the cold weather, but I love this stretch of the highway through here. That little gas station, it's so out of the way, and not really too busy through here. I mean, we're passing quite a few cars now, which it's a Saturday morning that I'm filming this, and I know a lot of people are coming through the area, just see the leaves, just come to the area for the fall. And if you've seen my road trip special where I went to Carolina Beach, you'll know that we took Highway 421 the entire way down. And US Highway 421, as I've said, crosses the entire state of North Carolina, all the way from Fort Fisher up to pretty much the most northwestern end of the state here, right here in Watauga County. About to cross over into Tennessee here in just a few minutes. And I've been on every stretch of 421 in the state. Most likely, it's one of, if not my favorite U.S. highway, just because of the land that it crosses, all the way from literally the end of the land at the Atlantic Ocean, all the way up here into the highlands. And I mean, so much different landscape, different little towns, cities along the way. I absolutely love this highway. And just, the little shops along the way here in this part of the state, it's not really changed too much over the years, especially up in this part. Boone is has a lot more modern amenities, more modern town, college town. And up here, it's just simple mountain living, much like I'm used to. And that's probably what these people do here have been used to all their lives as well. We have just crossed over the Tennessee line into Trade, Tennessee, and a little fireworks store right back there, State Line Fireworks. I actually used to go in there on my trips here. I've not been in there in quite a few years now, probably at least 5 or 6 years since I've been in there, but I used to go in there every time I'd come out this way. And there was this little old lady worked there. And I mean, I would hope she's still alive, of course. I mean, I have no idea how old she was. Barely could get around, though. But as old as this woman was, and, we kind of have this preconceived notion. We see someone older, we're going to automatically think they're not exactly still all there. I mean, it's just how we tend to think a lot of times, unfortunately. This woman was so knowledgeable on all the fireworks she was selling. I mean, I would ask her just one simple question about something, and she would just rattle off all the facts, all the specs on every one of these firework products that she would sell. Because that's something I used to, and I mean, I still love fireworks, but I used to go all out every 4th of July, and I mean, even around New Year's, I would just spend a few $100s in fireworks, literally burning, blowing up a few $100s in it. But that's just a nice little shop there. If you're ever in this part of the state, in this area, definitely stop in there. It's not like these giant big box stores or fireworks supermarkets, which I do love going to. It's just a little family run shop. Very nice people there, very good prices on stuff, and just a fun little roadside shack to visit while you're out here. Right now we're riding through Mountain City, Tennessee. Never really explored too much of the town here, and never really got out and saw what's to see. Definitely want to sometime. Really, usually when I'm out here, it's this time of day, pretty early in the morning. Nothing's really open yet, and always just kind of killing some time before we get back to Boone and start, shopping around, messing around down there. But it's still just a nice little town. I love coming through here. And if you've seen again the video where we were in the Carolina Highlands in Tennessee, you would have seen where we went down the infamous Copperhead Road, of course made famous by the Steve Earle song, which is just right outside of Mountain City. We're a little bit north of that right now. Won't be seeing that again today. It's a little bit out of the way. But we're actually now headed back south on US 421, heading back towards Carolina. Going to be leaving Johnson County and Tennessee, heading back into Watauga County, and getting ready to explore a little bit of Boone, Blowing Rock, and the surrounding area. We are now on King Street in Boone, North Carolina. Pretty much the town's main street. Just up the road is Appalachian State University. Of course, back this way is heading back toward Tennessee. And this street has a lot of history to it. This town does in general. But one of my favorite little facts about this street is it is actually where one of my favorite bands, Old Crow Medicine Show, was discovered. Just busking out here on the street and discovered by the one and only Doc Watson. Technically Doc Watson's daughter, I believe, is who found them, and she called her father, told them about the band, and from there on, all the way to the top, and the rest, as they say, is history. But we're gonna check out a few of my favorite little shops here. Little antique store over here, and of course Mass General Store, as I've showcased in a couple other videos. We're just gonna spend a little bit of time here and see what we can see. So, we didn't actually make it to the Mass General Store today. That's alright though. This one's not really one of my favorite ones to go in. I like going in it, but it's kind of just like most of the others, aside from the one in Valley Crucis, which is definitely unique on its own. But picked up quite a bit downtown today. Pretty quick. When we first pulled up, the street was dead, and nothing was really open yet. We kind of walked up the street, and there was really nothing going on. We went into the antique store, and by the time we got out of there, it was packed. We sat here, we sat at the meter for probably a good 20 minutes waiting to get out. That's the main problem with Boone, especially this time of year, and of course it's on a weekend day, that it's going to be packed. There's going to be people walking the streets, and that kind of backs stuff up, and really every turn you make you're going to have some kind of jam. But we're going to get something to eat here pretty quick. It's getting about lunchtime, and we'll check back in soon. And now we're going to stop in for a bite at one of my favorite little pizza joints, Capone's Pizza, which used to be on King Street, right downtown, and right up by the college, I should say. But now it's moved a little bit further away, so it's quite a bit easier to get in and out of, and much more seating inside.
Now, something you may not know is that I actually have a bit of a fascination for neon signs. This mostly stems from the fact that I used to work for a neon sign factory. So wherever I travel, I always try to take notice of any that I find. And here at Capone's Pizza, this "We Deliver Pizza and Wings" sign is actually one of my works, and my initials are still on the back where I signed the assembly tag. It's just always pretty cool when I see one of my own pieces out in the world. And of course, it's still working, so I guess I did something right during my time there.
So unfortunately, we weren't able to eat inside Capone's Pizza, but we were able to get to go, and it was amazing as always. And now we're back on 421, trying to get to Blowing Rock, but as you can see, this is typical traffic through here this time of year. Just kind of have to grin and bear it. Just roll with it till you get through. Now, once we get through Boone itself and get away from the college, traffic usually lightens up pretty good. But for now, I guess we're just going to have to take our time. And of course, one of the more interesting sights of Boone, the two-story Wendy's. I believe I've ate at one time, and yeah, about like any other Wendy's. Of course, now just passing Tweetsie Railroad. It's been quite some time since I've actually been to Tweetsie. At that point, they had quit doing the cowboy and Indian fights on the train, moved everything off the train. And I don't know, it was all kind of a letdown the last time I went. I guess grow out of it at that point. Something I wish I had learned to grow out of, or something I wish I had known I was too old for, was the Mystery Hill here on my right. One of the many tourist traps across the country that claim to be, you know, you walk into the room and water moves uphill and all kind of stuff, that gravity doesn't exist. And yeah, you'd think I'd been smarter than that. But yeah, I actually wasted about $10 there. Not even probably 6 years ago. So I guess once a fool, always a fool. Finally pulling into Blowing Rock, North Carolina right now. Still stuck at a stoplight. I had a green light at that. Didn't bother going to the Tanger outlets back there. A lot of the stores I used to go to are not there anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into the downtown area of Blowing Rock and hopefully find a parking space. That's always the pain down here this time of year. Everybody and their brothers out here at that point, at this time of year. So hopefully we can get a parking space, be able to check out some of the shops downtown on Main Street over here. This little lake that, for whatever reason, from my first trip here when I was younger, this is what I remember the most about just the little area, the town of Blowing Rock, outside of Tweetsie and, you know, everything up closer to Boone. Just this little lake here for some reason. The motel we stayed at was right down the stretch, and I just remember passing by that lake every time. And it was in the middle of summer when we came, but it was rainy and foggy the entire trip. You could see pretty much nothing out here, and you know, you could barely see the lake over there. And now, you know, pretty clear day out. It's finally warmed up a bit, about 48 degrees out now, but you know, the leaves are very close to peak. We might be a few days shy or a few days past the peak, but they're very close to it now. And I guess that's what everyone pretty much knows out here now, so everybody's here. So I am glad, though, that it is a clear day so we can actually see. Try to go to a couple more little, less crowded, less populated places while we're out here today. I'm going to see what we have time for, especially after we get through here, trying to find a parking space. We're going to try to ride down to Linville area again, to the Linville Gorge, but the parkway is completely backed up. We do have another way to get there, but again, I guess we're going to see what time allots for after this. So stay tuned and stick around.
Well, we're just looking at one of those two places. We'll go see what they have up here.
Now, one of my must-stop locations in Blowing Rock is the High Country Candle Store, a place that I've been coming to every trip since my vacation here as a kid. I absolutely love browsing through the extremely detailed creations of hand-dipped candles, and of course the amazing smelling scented candles that are all throughout the store. The shop is pretty much divided into seasons, with one section being Halloween and fall scented candles, another being scents more commonly associated with Christmas time and the winter, a spring section with many floral scents, and then a section of summery candles with smells that would remind you of the beach. And of course, all of which are color coordinated to the seasons as well. They typically do demonstrations of hand dipping the candles in the store, though they weren't on this day. I don't know if they just had no need for any extras, or they were just trying to keep too many people from gathering in the store during the pandemic. But that is always something really cool to see. If you are in the Blowing Rock area, I do highly recommend stopping in and checking it out for yourself. And just across the road is another very aromatic store that I like to visit, the Spice and Tea Exchange.
So we're finally out of Blowing Rock. Took a little maneuvering to finally get off Main Street. And as you can see, people are still lined up. We're almost a mile away from Main Street, and people are still backed up through here. I guess they know the parkway is backed up as about as bad as it can be, so let's go ahead and jam up another road while we're at it. But we're actually on 221 South, and a lot of the signs kind of try to discourage you from taking this route, it says like steep winding roads for the next 19 miles all the way to Linville. But I've drove this plenty of times. No worse than the roads back home, and actually 221 runs right outside Patrick County. And, I'm on it quite a bit up there, so it's just about as bad up that way too. But man, look at the people here, just on and on. We're almost to the next parkway exit here. I got a good mind it's probably going to clear out after that, probably people exiting the parkway for Blowing Rock. But the parkway is nice. I really do. I enjoy taking the parkway. Probably take it back a good ways, maybe not all the way home, since it would pretty much take us straight home. But it's just such a long drive, and it gets boring at points. Whereas 221 here is actually pretty nice the entire way. I mean, it's just about as, secluded as a parkway is, but typically a lot less people are on it now. Today, I don't know, maybe people's GPS are taking them this way to keep them off the parkway, but it's nice, and nice little scenic road, and at points it actually runs right under the parkway. It runs under the Lincoln Viaduct, and that's really pretty through there, and you can look right up and see it, and it's just as beautiful as the parkway is in many ways. So we're going to take this on down to Linville, try to get out to Linville Gorge for just a little bit before the sun sets, and we'll check back in a minute. Right now, we are driving right below Grandfather Mountain, crossing under the Lincoln Viaduct. Really, really pretty little area here on 221. As I was saying, it has a lot of charms that the Parkway just doesn't have. The Parkway crosses over a lot of these creeks and little streams, waterfalls, and everything to where you can't even see them. Whereas here on 221, they're right at the side of the road. Okay, so you may recognize this road from another video of mine. If not, well, don't feel bad because it was all in the dark. This is actually the road through the Linville Gorge wilderness. We're going to try to make it out to the Wiseman's Overlook, Wiseman's View before sunsets. We've got about another 30 minutes until sunset. And while it's only about 4 miles out, it is a very long 4 miles on this road, as I've said in past video. Now, granted, the road last time was not in that bad a shape. Hopefully it'll be just as good today or better. But we'll check back in just a few minutes.
Now, I forgot to start filming as we pulled into the parking lot, but there were more people than I have ever seen here before, as you'll see why in just a minute. So we figured we really wouldn't be staying all that long, but I thought I'd still get a little bit of footage of the short trail and the overlook anyways. The last time I filmed any of this was late in the evening, so now you can see a good bit more of what the area actually looks like during the day. And of course, here is the warning high cliff area sign that looks a bit more ominous and threatening in the dark than in the light. Now, as I've said before, there are 2 open overlooks here at Wiseman's that you can safely access. There are technically a couple more, but as some of the people here that night found out the hard way, if a ranger comes up, you will be escorted out of those other areas rather quickly. But where all the people are congregating, a wedding was actually going on one of the main overlooks. So that's why I have to do a voiceover now instead of using the audio from that day. And here, quite possibly my favorite view in the entire world, Linville Gorge. This is truly a sight you must see for yourself, as no camera can do this any bit of justice, especially this time of year and at this time of day. And just beyond the rims of Hawksbill and Table Rock, you can see Brown Mountain standing in the distance. And as I said in my night visit video to Wiseman's View, these overlooks are literally hanging right over the gorge, with about a 1,400-foot drop beneath. So do take caution while here, but don't let it scare you away from such a beautiful sight.
Well, the day didn't quite go as planned, but that's typical here at On the Road with Vincent. We did get to go to Wiseman's, naturally, but yeah, there's just a lot more people there than I've ever seen before. Come to find out, they're having a wedding there, so that's why there's so many crowds up this way. Not to mention just the regular, people passing by, just visiting the area. But typically when I make this trip, we'll go somewhere new, explore something. And we didn't really get to do that any today. But instead now, we are finally going to venture out to the end of the Pisgah National Forest Linville Gorge Wilderness Area Road. Never been out this way before. The farthest we've been is just a little bit past Wiseman's View, a little where we camped one night, my wife and I. And so we're just gonna ride this out, see where it takes us. But we're playing a very dangerous game here because we are at 42 miles till empty. We have not filled up at all since yesterday. So, we've drove a pretty good ways today. And hopefully we can reach some gas station within 42 miles going this way. We would have went back the typical way, but I really didn't feel like dealing with all the crowds. And, I just felt like the streets and the highways were still going to be pretty backed up that way. People leaving the area for the night, for the weekend, whatever. So we just decided to take the way we felt like would be far less people, and we're going to venture out this way. And it's already becoming very interesting now. Table Rock is right in front of us, and I don't think you can really see it in the light. Maybe it can if I can brighten this up any. But other than that, unless we see anything else of interest, I guess that will be the end of this journey. So thank you all for joining us again, and we'll see you all next time on the Road with Vincent.